It's the Underpowered Hour. On this week's show, a 455,000-pound bullet and grenade-proof Defender. And finally, we scroll through the best that Bring a Trailer has to offer for your next Land Rover. And now, here's the show. Welcome to the Underpowered Hour. I'm Steve Beres, mild-mannered television executive by day and Land Rover collector by night. You can find out more about our cars and what we're working on at theberescollection.com or follow us on Instagram at theberescollection. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Goss.
Thank you to everyone joining us today. I'm the lever to Steven's button. I'm the manual engagement of podcasting, Ike Goss. I own and operate Pangolin 4x4 in Springfield, Oregon, where we live and breathe Land Rovers. Check us out online on Facebook, Instagram at Pangolin 4x4. Let's get started.
All right, Ike. Well, this week in the news, a couple of interesting, I guess you can say, articles about some stuff happening in the Land Rover world. First of all, Land Rover is leaving the Chinese market, sort of.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, sort of. Not entirely, in the way that they'll have a presence in the Chinese market with a vehicle, if I'm assuming their name on it, or at least one of their brand names on it, the Freelander, right?
The Cherry Freelander, which, I'm very excited about. Obviously, it's coming to the UK. Unlikely that it's coming here to the United States, but that's all right. I will move to the UK so that I can buy that new Freelander. It's fine.
I feel like if there's one reason to move abroad right now, it's because of a vehicle that is not for sale here.
That's right. I can't think of any other reason to move from the United States right now. Everything else is going super good. So
everything else is fine. But
so going to continue this sort of licensing nameplate kind of strategy that they have right now in China. Is that the plan?
I mean, that seems to be the plan. It looks like production of Land Rover vehicles by Land Rover in China is ceasing.
And they have like a plant there that makes Range Rovers and things, or
I don't know what they make there,
over.
but yes, I think the short answer is they've had production facilities there, but may be proving to be too expensive or at least non-competitive with domestic production there in China.
Right, because of the Jerry McGovern overhead in travel. And
it's the licensing fees for his signature.
It's true. I mean, he signs individually every single Land Rover made in China with the totem that comes with those Land Rovers, I imagine he signs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's exciting. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting to think about like Land Rover becoming increasingly like a design firm when maybe we would say that isn't exactly the most attractive feature of the current Land Rover brand. Maybe it's the engineering and such, but
you might say that, but I feel like that's maybe your or our personal viewpoint. But I feel like broadly there are a lot of copycats. Say what you will about the current crop of Land Rover vehicles from a design standpoint, but certainly there are a lot of imitators.
That is absolutely correct. And in fact, a lot of those are Chinese originated imitators. Some you can just simply order in a crate and have dropped off on your driveway. Now, those are 2/3 scale, so they're not exactly like a full scale Range Rover, but they look the part. Maybe they're good. I don't know. I feel like we should get one. We should get one of those Chinese made Range Rovers, have it shipped up there, the old Pangolin 4x4, and do an unboxing video.
Yeah.
And then have Linus drive it for a month and give us his long-term review on it.
Yeah, I've placed the order. I'll make it happen.
Perfect. We may have to bolt the doors shut in order to keep Linus in it for a month and not just have him drive it into a river. But
those are safety bolts.
Yeah, there's safety bolts. Yeah, just for, we care about his safety and his honest review of the crate full of Chinese Range Rover. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think that obviously the Chinese market is something that everybody was banking on to a certain degree a number of years ago. And now I think a lot of brands are rethinking that, as obviously the domestic market from a consumer standpoint has softened significantly. The tariffs have obviously not made that better, but the Chinese philosophy is to sort of save, right? They're the most savings-rich culture in the world. I think they save like 40% and up of their income. And so if you're doing that, you're not necessarily splurging on a Range Rover, where here in the United States, we save like 3% or something, like an ungodly, small amount. And also borrowing in China is not quite what it is here, meaning that people don't lease and certainly don't finance cars for 6 years and things like that. They're much more conservative with the way that they manage debt. And again, when you're talking about a Range Rover that's $100,000 plus, your market is going to get pretty small in a culture like that. So maybe the idea of just making cherry Freelanders is the way forward.
I mean, you still got to consider it's the world's largest car market. And to, close that out is a big deal.
It's a big deal. And it's a big country too. There's a lot of driving to be had. There is pretty good train infrastructure and stuff in China, but there's still a lot of highways, a lot of road, a lot of reason to drive. So I think there is a real desire for it.
Have you been to China?
I haven't. I've been to Hong Kong, but I've never been to mainland China.
We should
One
go.
of those things. I want to go. I do. I really do.
Let's do it. Let's do a Land Rover trip in China.
Oh, let's find out when they're going to launch the Freelander. We'll go over for the unveil.
Yeah, we'll buy one and drive it across China.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I think you have to hire like a guide or something, like a government-approved guide to drive in China.
That would be all right. I think, these folks that like take the, the original like Honda Trail bike and the new Honda Trail bike and like drive across a province in Canada or something. I think we should be the first people to take the original Freelander and the new Freelander and drive it across China.
Where would you get the original Freelander from in China?
Great question.
That's the crux of your...
You have to import one into China at, 125% tariff. Worth it. You know what? Worth it.
Totally worth it. I mean, what's the 125% of $500?
That's exactly
it's not that
right.
much.
That's
right?
not a big deal. That's not a big deal. Speaking of worth it, there's an article from the Top Gear website.
Oh, you want to do this one now?
BBC. Yeah, let's do it now. Let's jump in there because I think that I can't wait. I'm so excited about this story. So,
have you ordered yours yet?
I'm going to as soon as we finish up here. So the Helderberg, which I just learned the origin of that name this morning.
What is the etymology of the name?
Completely made up. Completely
100% made up, huh?
Yeah. On their website, owner and founder Paul Potratz.
His name is not Helderberg?
It isn't. It's Paul Potratz.
I would go with Helderberg too if I had to choose between the two.
Yeah. He said that he came up with the name based on his love for a few things: dogs,
okay,
Land Rovers,
given,
farm life.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And country gentleman attire.
So he's like a LARPer?
Yeah, he's like exactly. He's a pheasant shoot for LARPer, I guess. And if you go to the Helderberg website, which is extensive, and you simply click on the videos link, that's all you'll need to do, and just scroll through there, you'll notice that our good friend Paul has no less than 600 different outfits. It is amazing. And they're all sort of different country gentleman styles. It's not all the same.
That's fun. I actually like that.
Oh, he's got a wide variety of outfits. Mm-hmm. Everything from the sort of Steve Jobs inspired turtleneck outfit to a number of different country looking business suits complete with leather gloves. And then a whole host of like furred collared jackets.
What do you think he grows on his farm?
I have no idea. I mean, I imagine country gentleman clothing would be what I would have to guess. Also, dogs. Lots of dogs. He's got some great photos of him with dogs.
Yeah, I like dogs. Dogs are great. How's your dog? You got a dog
dogs?
recently, right?
You like dogs? Churro, my dog is doing wonderful. He's the best boy and is fantastic. He sleeps, 80% of the day and tries to eat.
That's a good percentage.
80%.
Those are goals. Those are life goals right there.
Yeah.
So talk to me about this special edition Defender that they've unveiled.
Their latest unveil, if you will, is no less than what they're calling the Bellatrix. I assume after Bellatrix Lestrange from the Harry Potter films.
Bellatrix.
Yeah. It is what is being called a 44 Magnum ballistic and grenade attack resistant Land Rover Defender for the well-heeled that get shot at or have grenades thrown at them frequently. And yeah, it's a 110 Defender, classic 110 Defender, with a specially outfitted Helderberg diesel engine and apparently a Arnold Schwarzenegger set of armaments added to the car. And it looks interesting. It's like a gold color.
So it has offensive capabilities as well? Talk to me about those.
It says it has gun ports for occupants. So if you and the family, because it is, the customer apparently that they're building these for, wants a fortress of family protection on wheels. And of course, part of that is everybody, I guess, has a gun and can gun port out the side. As people are tossing grenades at it, you can return fire from the weapons ports throughout the vehicle. It also has reinforced bumpers, hidden bumpers, but they're not really hidden. They're on there.
So there's bumpers under the bumpers, is what we're saying?
Maybe there may be bumpers under the bumpers.
That's kind of the way it reads. In the schematic, which it's just arrows. It looks like
it is, yes.
It's like when you draw your secret hideout when you're a kid, and
exactly.
You're like, here's the submarine base, here's the big screen TV movie theater, here, but there's not really any details about the stuff. This is similar. It says that it has transparent armor and ballistic protection and etc. And it just has arrows to every part of the car.
Yeah, every part of the car has both presidential ballistic protection, which is very important. This isn't standard ballistic protection. This is your presidential ballistic protection.
So as long as they don't have a rifle, you're good.
Yeah, 44 Magnum. So if Dirty Harry was after you, totally safe.
Yes,
totally
but a rifle,
I have a feeling a decent sized rifle round is going to go through that. The transparent, multi-layered glass
polycarbonate,
and apparently a polycarbonate. So it's some kind of probably Paraplex kind of derivative, or rather, what's the stuff they make the boards at a hockey game out of? Those are.
I think that's polycarbonate. Polycarbonate. Now, the defensive capabilities are really the offensive capabilities in the schematic, right? Because it says it has pepper spray emitting side mirrors for close range defense.
Yep.
It has a smoke screen system for evasive maneuvers.
It's fantastic.
Electric shock door handles to prevent unauthorized entry.
Right.
And
locks also do that.
Another line item is a smoke screen system for evasive maneuvers. So they got that on there twice. So
it's like
smoke screens.
Two smoke screens. Yeah.
And then concealed gun ports for defensive actions without revealing positions. I'm not sure what that means. I'm assuming that people are going to know that the people inside are shooting at them.
Yeah, like, where are these shots coming from? I wonder, are these gun ports, are these actual just holes in the body for you to stick a gun through? Or
I don't know.
Are they Batman-style machine guns that pop up out of the fenders?
Like on the outside, you can just shoot out of the car
drive
with a button?
Yeah.
I don't even think that's probably legal, but
no, I don't think so. But.
And then reinforced hidden ram bumpers allow the vehicle to ram obstacles and continue moving under duress. This is like the perfect anti-panhandling vehicle.
I was just gonna
like the guy comes up to wash your windshield and he wants like a few bucks and you just pepper spray him out the mirrors.
Pepper spray him. If that doesn't work, you electrocute him.
If that doesn't work, you electrocute him.
Smoke screen.
And then smoke screen.
You're out of there.
And then you're out of there.
You're out of there.
In the schematic, this vehicle is completely bulletproof, but in the schematic of the front of the vehicle, the radiator is clearly exposed along with the fan.
It is, yes. And actually, if you look at the vehicle itself, first of all, it's clearly photoshopped onto a different background.
Is it?
Yeah. In the future, you got to look through the windows and around the brush bar and through the roll cage if you're going to try to match that. But that's neither here nor there. This isn't a Photoshop podcast. But anyways, it looks like it's got one of the Heritage grills on it, which is a slightly smaller, sort of crossplate kind of a thing, but that doesn't stop bullets. That is, in most cases, those are made of plastic, I believe. So,
well, the schematic is a little different. It shows like almost a Saudi spec grill on the front in the schematic.
Yeah, it's a different car entirely on that
on the schematic.
On the schematic, yeah.
And the schematic is not a drawing; it's just a black and white image.
That's right. It's lifted from. I imagine they have that black and white image as like a standard thing for when you go to their website to configure your ultimate off-road military protected truck. Now, in the inside on the other hand,
Yes.
very not militaristic. It is
Sumptuous.
it's very sumptuous. Some would even say luxurious maybe an excess.
You know how you know it's fancy? The diamond stitch,
Yeah, quilting. Yeah.
the quilted pattern. That's
Yeah.
how you know. That's the signal for luxury.
That's exactly right. That and suede headliner. You got to have
Suede
that
headliner.
too. Oh yeah, got to have the suede headliner because nobody has ever gone wrong with a suede headliner in a truck that gets muddy. I don't know that this would get muddy. I'm not exactly sure the audience that this vehicle is being targeted at. They are apparently making 3 of these vehicles. No sort of indication as to the price, but
No,
I do.
no, it
oh
says
no, I'm
price is
sorry.
in the headline.
Of course,
in the title of the article.
£455,000.
And that indicates that it is for sale in England, right?
That's right. Yeah, it would be a
I wonder what the British authorities would say about all the gun ports and guns.
It's a good question.
Do you need gun ports in a country where guns are illegal?
You can't really get a gun. That's a great question. Now, it does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so
It has.
while you're in the gunfight, you can be listening to some Chapel Roan on your Apple CarPlay. So that's nice.
Sick. It has like a safety devices roll cage. It has some side steps and rock sliders. So it's got like the double bars on the side of the car. It's got big tires on it. Bead locks, which it describes as run flats. So I don't know if it has bead locks and run flats or what's going on there. It has a winch.
Interesting.
If
Yeah,
you get
it does
stuck,
have a winch. You get stuck.
You can pull it out.
But now, what if you're stuck and being shot at? I guess there's no remotely deployable winch.
You don't know that. It could have a
That's
grappling hook that shoots out of the front of the winch and then just reels it in.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, it's an interesting looking car. I mean, it's a Defender looking car. Looks exactly like a normal Defender.
How would you describe the exterior of this vehicle?
It's gold. And
Super gold. Our
and
president would love this car.
as we know, it's best because it's gold.
It's gold.
Gold is the best. There is no better.
When you want to do evasive maneuvers,
Right.
like drive out of a smoke screen, and you want to get away from somebody who's trying to find you, you want a metallic, bright gold vehicle.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's the least. It's hiding in plain sight kind of a theory there, I think.
Plain sight.
Right? That's going to be what
As
you're
long
gonna
as
do
the
there.
background is gold.
Yes, as long as you're against a golden background, you're all right. Now, I'm not sure. I mean, this has UK pricing, but is it really just going to Saudi Arabia or something like that? Or, possibly, I suppose there's a world where this is like a South African vehicle or something, but it's just with the price and the fact that it's made in New York, it really seems to be...
So you think the pricing is just an affectation like many of the other aspects of this vehicle and this company?
I think it is, yes.
Okay.
It's one of those, if you have to ask, you can't afford it kind of a thing. And
Do you think he speaks with a British accent?
Oh, I hope so. Well, depending on the outfit. I think depending on the outfit that he's in, because it is a little bit of like a country gentleman cosplay situation going on here, which I respect. I think his latest video where he's got like the Fantasy Island outfit going on, that might be
Fantasy
my
Island.
favorite. I will say he is a fan of the turtleneck and sport coat, which is that's a bold choice.
Dude, I love it. I love the whole country gentleman thing. I don't feel confident enough to pull it off, but I'm super glad that there's someone that can do it.
Me too. Turtlenecks and sport coats is a tricky bit of business to make.
Especially outside where you're like,
yeah.
I'm outdoorsy. I'm trying to sell this like utility vehicle. That's a
tricky.
ballsy move.
No, I know, but he makes it look good. He does. And he's like the most interesting man in the world. If you look through all this, he's got so many outfits and so many different cars. And it looks like they've made about 12,000 Defenders here on their website. So it's definitely, business seems good over there at the Hellenberg.
If you aspire to be the dictator of a third world country, look them up on the internet. Helderberg Defenders and their new gold-plated armored evasive panhandling vehicle.
Absolutely. And speaking of evasive panhandling vehicles, if you are in the market for a new Land Rover, and maybe that one is just not quite your style, you can always head on over to the world famous Bring a Trailer, because man, they got a couple
bumper crop of vehicles here on Bring a Trailer.
It's true for our, our favorite segment, the making fun of vehicles on Bring a Trailer. And these ones, I'm not going to make fun of these.
I'm going to say one nice thing about each of these vehicles.
That's fair. I think that's fair. I will say
we need to make sure that we do that.
Start off first with the modified 1966 Land Rover 88 Series 2A, which is presented in the sand color, but in the beige color. Mm-hmm. And it has literally every single accessory that one could fit to a Land Rover.
There's a lot of stuff on this car. What would you say the total weight of this accessory package is compared to the vehicle itself?
It may be equal at this point. I think
if you set all
it's a 50-50.
You set all the accessories on one side of the scale and you set the Land Rover on the other side of the scale, would they balance?
Perfect balance. Yeah, there is a lot of stuff on this car. It does feature our favorite ropey bumper.
Has a ropey bumper.
It is clearly for aesthetic purposes, and just the way that it's like wrapped in there. It looks like it'll take you half an hour to get it off. And and it has every little cage over every light. It has quite a, sort of a period correct, if you will, roof rack that's, nice square tube and galv and a little bit of plywood up there, it looks like. And of course, the quintessential Camel Trophy plaque on the top of the top roof box.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question.
No.
And maybe you can answer this because I don't quite understand. It looks as if there's a rooftop tent on it. Would you say that's true?
It does look like there's a rooftop tent on it. I agree with you. Okay. But
follow-up question.
At the same time, yes.
Follow-up question. There's sides on the roof rack, right?
100%.
There's like 4 or 5 inch sides that are all the way around.
Yes.
How do you unfold the rooftop tent with the sides?
Absolutely no idea. So, that was a question I had as well as I sort of looked around all the photos. Again, Bring a Trailer is fantastic for the sheer number of photos that they have.
Is there a picture of it with the tent deployed?
There is not, to the best of my knowledge.
Damn it.
Yeah. So it may just be that is cargo with a tarp over it.
You think?
I mean, it is possible. It sure looks like a rooftop tent, though.
Does the cargo come with it?
Yes, you get all of the cargo that also comes with the car. They also have close-ups of every single sticker that is on the vehicle, which I think is really interesting, down to the stickers on the brake fluid reservoir and, of course, the reproduction sticker on the coil, as well as every different Camel Trophy sticker on there, and a pretty significant amount of information about the invoices and all that sort of stuff that went into this car. There's also something on the front wing. It's like it's a shovel, but it's not the correct Land Rover shovel. They've done I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but it does seem like it would bounce around like crazy if you were to go over any kind of diverse terrain. It would be tricky based on how that all looks. And then, you've got all kinds of different things going on here. You've got, the motor looks okay.
A lot of diamond plate.
There's a lot of diamond plate. The engine has been outfitted with as many little red doodabbies as were available at the time. There's, the connector for the air cleaner tube from the carburetor has got a little red rubber deal. Every hose seems to have a red hose clamp on it that's keeping it sort of situated.
You gotta know where they are.
And more importantly, and this is something that you don't usually see, as this is usually something you tighten once and you don't really worry about again, is every hose clamp has one of those little red plastic wing nutty things on it so that they can be adjusted by hand. So
I actually do like that.
Yeah.
It looks a little silly, but it is nice to, if you have a little weepy thing, to be able to tighten it without having to break out the toolkit. So
it is nice. And the back, it looks good. It's got all 4 rear jump seats, and they have seat belts, which is nice.
It's unusual.
Dangerous because they're sideways, and it looks like, period front seat belts and stuff. The interior seems like it's in really good shape. At one point, there are some red floor panels and things like that. I don't know if that was simply because those floor panels were completely clapped out and so they were replaced, most likely, because it doesn't look like the car has really been repainted significantly or anything like that. And it's generally a pretty nice car, especially it has overdrive, it has a heater, especially if you are into collecting accessories, because that, my friend, this has in spades.
I think you might be right with respect to the cargo tarp. Back to that, I think it does have just a tarp with cargo
With
underneath
cargo
it.
underneath it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So if you're
it's not a rooftop tent.
It
Looked like a rooftop tent, but
It did. Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff on the roof rack. It's got 4 traction boards. It's got the high lift jack on the back. It's got definitely a lot of gear up there. Some sort of axe, a plastic Fisker's axe.
Yeah.
It's got limb risers. It's got the cargo. It's got whatever the
the cargo is. Yeah, I'm interested to know what's in there.
What's under there? What's under there?
I don't know.
We should leave a message, leave a comment on the ad. It's got a shovel on the top. It's got a shovel on the fender. It's got shovels everywhere. I will say one of my mantras with going off road is bring 2 shovels. Otherwise, you're digging alone.
Yeah, you never want to dig alone. It has Series 3 doors, which in my opinion are the weaker door that if you could have. And it looks like it also has hood hinges that were homemade or something.
Homemade hood hinges. I didn't see that.
Yeah, they're kind of, it has correct back door hinges, but those are Series 3 doors for whatever reason.
It has Series 3 door hinges.
Yeah, door hinges. Yeah, they may not be Series 3 door. Well, it's hard to tell. The locks look like they're.
It does have the Series 2A door stops.
But it's got a windshield eyebrow. It's got the windshield visor, which I like those. I think they look really cool.
I just can't see out of them.
Nah, you can't. You're never going to know if the light is green or red. If you're
a marginally tall person, I cannot see out of those.
Yeah, and then some sort of improvised limb risers made with, and this is important, the wire rope that you use for a clothesline and for nothing else. When it's covered in plastic, that means it's for a clothesline.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they actually call it clothesline wire rope because it is the process of putting that coating on it eliminates its strength rating. So you're not allowed to lift with wire rope that is plastic covered.
To be fair, it could push a small branch out of the way. Mm-hmm. And it would probably be okay, right?
I think it's going to be just fine. The bigger deal is that in the sun, that stuff gets really, really shitty and cracks off. What you want to get is coated wire rope. You can get it coated in a few different colors. Black is the most popular, and that stuff, that doesn't wear off very easily. And the actual exposed wire rope acts like a tiny little saw so that it actually just cuts the branches for you. A little tiny little saw. And the pedestrians that might run across it as well.
I don't believe you.
Yeah.
I don't believe you. It has a later speedometer with a trip odometer.
I did see that, yeah.
It has an ignition button instead of the one down below on the dashboard, the push button. It's got one in the middle of the dash.
It's
got a backup camera.
If you look at the tread boards, if you look at the Not Max Tracks, it has these little, I don't know how you describe them, but knobs, right, that bolt it to the truck that look like they fit entirely perfectly inside of the Max Track in a way that I don't know how you would turn them. I'm not sure how they come off because the knob.
You should leave a comment.
Yeah, I have lots of questions about this car. Interesting car. Generally, the car underneath, I think it looks like a good car. It looks like it's been, sort of, there's some things that have been switched and whatever, but it doesn't look, doesn't look too bad.
The exhaust is maybe one of my criticisms on this vehicle. It appears to be resting on the rear axle.
That's never good.
Did you see that picture? It's like,
oh, I do. It's on the, oh yeah. Is it actually sitting on the suspension?
Well, I can't quite tell. It's got a chain hanging it on the right-hand side, and then it doesn't look like anything on the left-hand side. So something's definitely up with the exhaust there, but it's probably an easy fix. It's a left-hand drive vehicle with a right-hand drive exhaust. So my suspicion is that the brackets that bolt it to the frame are not there because the exhaust and the chassis are different from one another.
Yeah, exactly. That's, fenders
I think it's noisy going over a bump with that exhaust the way it is, though.
It's like a box of rusty hammers back there.
Just spin around down there.
Yeah, anyways, so there you go. If you're into accessories and...
a roamer drive.
It does have a roamer drive, yeah, which is exceptional. That is really nice, especially on a Series 2,
Great
Series
accessory.
3. They're wonderful. Really, really makes the car very drivable in a modern, setting, for sure. So speaking of a modern setting, moving on to our next vehicle. This one, if you don't like accessories, to the point where maybe you don't like doors, this 1971 Land Rover Series 2A might be for you because
this one's definitely a more stripped down example.
Literally the most
top.
stripped down. No top,
no doors,
no center seat. It does have rear bench seats and no upgrades really at all, except for blaze orange paint.
It's very bright color.
It is a bright color. It is a
It's
fun,
also been debadged.
It has been.
And we don't know if that was by the owner or by a hobo.
Yes, that's true. There is like everything is the most stripped down that you can get, but it looks, they've repainted everything.
I guess it has a badge on the back. The front one's missing.
The front one's missing. Yeah, it does have one on the back. Yeah, but the front badge is missing, and hey, it's looks relatively straight.
Would you drive this car? That's another quality that we should be talking about. Like each of these vehicles, would you drive this car?
The previous car, I would drive.
You would drive the.
I would drive. I would drive it. It would be hard to see out of it because of all the shit. But
what about the gold armored Defender?
I would drive that in a heartbeat.
You would drive it?
I'm often shot at.
I would shoot at you if you were driving that.
There you go. See? Perfect example. Perfect example. So, yeah, I'm sure it's a great car. I'm sure it's a fun car to drive, and I'm interested in their diesel engine and what that means exactly.
I want to know about the ballistics testing. I want to hear more about that.
Again, Paul, if you're listening, and I'm sure he is, not anymore, not after this episode, but previously to this, I'm sure he did.
It's grenade resistant.
Happy to toss some grenades in there just to kind of see.
Just see what happens.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it. So no problem.
So back to this orange vehicle.
Yeah, so this one, it's got all the hallmarks of a completely sort of resprayed car.
What happened to the doors, do you think? There's no door tops and no mirrors. Do you know there's
no door tops, no mirrors. It is a right-hand drive vehicle, and that, as you know, here in the U.S. can be a little tricky based on merging and things like that. So if you simply get rid of the doors and top, you can see pretty good. So,
good
maybe
visibility.
Yeah, maybe it's just that. It's just, trying to work around that. Now, one thing that I noticed is, at least as I click through, I don't really see any seat belts.
I was thinking that too. I was just going to ask you, this is a pretty dangerous vehicle we've got here.
Yeah, because if you don't have doors, and anyone who's driven a series vehicle, obviously no power steering, it does take some sort of body leverage sometimes to turn at at any kind of speed. Without any seatbelts or doors, the chances of you being ejected from the vehicle are very, very high,
Yeah, they're probable. It's probable you would be ejected from this vehicle.
Yeah.
But sometimes, and hear me out, you want to be thrown clear. Is this a vehicle you would want to be thrown clear of?
I don't think this is one I would want to necessarily drive. No. I think this is, you got to draw a line somewhere, and orange, no doors, no seatbelts tends to be where I put that line.
You would ride a motorcycle.
Absolutely, I do all the time, and that's fine. It's just a different sort of thing, I think it's
you have something for your legs to hold on
That's
to
exactly
in that
right. Yes.
in that situation,
Yes.
right? But
Yes.
not in this situation.
If I could straddle this Land Rover while driving it, then potentially yes. But
potentially yes.
Yes, yeah.
So this is a no for you.
This is a no for me, even though it looks like it's got lots of new bits on it. It's got a new exhaust.
It says it's recently refurbished, although I am not sure I'm convinced of that.
I don't know. It depends on your definition of recent. It does have new exhaust. It has, nice axle hangers and some of that axle straps, some of that sort of stuff. And it has been thoroughly painted to cover any potential rust or what have you.
I want to see that as a feature on a vehicle. We should do an ad. This vehicle is been thoroughly painted.
Thoroughly painted. The cappings have been painted silver, which is always a great sign.
And black.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. It's got all of the, the interior tub is still the black primer. It looks like that the parts come in from the factory. So yeah, it's got some interesting stuff. Again, it's not a bad car, and would it be fun to drive until you fell out? Probably. Yeah.
I think this is not a horrible entry level vehicle, although I have to say I don't know how this vehicle runs. That's one of the issues with Bring a Trailer is you can't know how it runs, but there is a video and it does appear to drive.
Yes.
And at the current price of $2,882, you can't go wrong.
You really
can't afford not to buy this
That's
vehicle.
exactly right. You could find some doors easily, put those doors on there. Color matching them may be a bit of a trick, but maybe that's the time to go two-tone,
It's just like safety cone orange.
Yeah, it sure is. That's exactly
just like
what it
take a cone down to the paint store and match it up.
And
it's got a defender. It's got a defender bumper.
It does have a defender bumper, yeah,
which touches the fenders.
That's true. That's the mark of quality. So you could take the paint that chips off where that bumper is rubbing on the fenders and just take that down to the paint store and get your doors matched.
Done.
Perfect.
Done.
And finally, in conclusion, now this is a little bit of like maybe a poor man's. I keep wanting to say Hindenburg, but Heldenberg. This is a little bit of a poor man's Bellatrix Lestrange. Maybe we'll call this the Draco Malfoy. This is up on the old Bringer trailer right now, an LS3 powered 1995 Land Rover Defender 110 pickup conversion, which is always what you want to hear, is pickup conversion. This guy, again, this is gone for the lots of accessories, but full murdered out. This is, in a dark alley, this will be invisible. Everything is black on black on black to the point where the actual lighting or the reflector behind the rally lights is even black. So it is the midnight Defender. And it's got all of the hallmarks of an upgraded car. It has a dash out of a Puma car, a Puma bulkhead. The LS3 engine, barely fits in there. It's a big boy, and it's got it's got everything you need. Looks like it's been completely gone through, and everything has been replaced or upgraded or changed out or whatever. Yeah, and it's got everything you want on a 4-door 110 pickup conversion. You got a tiny little roof rack, and of course, like your very favorite thing, it's got wood. It's got wood in that bed. Got nice teak wood in that bed. And they've converted, and by converted I mean they've chopped a door in half. They have a swing open tailgate. So it's not a tailgate, it's the door, it looks like, from the Donor 110 that they have chopped in half and turned into a swing out door.
This thing kind of has the Spectre-y sort of vibe to it, that sort of thing going on with the crew cab and the kind of chunky tires. And
it has a winch.
A lot of diamond plate. Tomb Raider, Spectre Tomb Raider.
Very, very Tomb Raider-y, for sure. It has a winch bumper, an ARB winch bumper, but it doesn't appear that there's a winch in there.
There are 2 fairleads, though.
Yeah, 2 fairleads, but no winch.
I think that's pretty common. People are like, I want the look, but I don't necessarily need a winch.
Yeah, you don't need a winch. Yeah, exactly. So. And nice little roof rack. I actually I'm kind of a sucker for, this is not a safety devices one, but I like that little half cab roof rack one, little cute little roof rack. It's a Voyager rack, which those are good folks here local to the United States do the Voyager racks, actually down in Florida.
So it has answer me this. So the roof rack, when you look at it in profile from the side, right, it sort of slopes down at the front. What do you put on the slopey part?
That's a great question. I've always asked that of those kinds of racks. That's also true though of the safety devices rack where they slope like that. Yeah, I don't know. And
this one slopes, but it's like bent. It's like got a curve almost.
You'll be glad to know, Ike, that if you look carefully at the wood in the bed,
yes,
it isn't actually wood. It looks like it's some kind of laminate, as it's all bubbly and warped in the back there. So
it does look sort of like a mat, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, I think it is. I think it's like some kind of a mat. There's a little bit of paint bubbling on the wheel arches, as I imagine painting those plastic wheel arches is a little tricky. You got to.
Do you think this is covering up dents underneath?
It could be that the bed is smashed to shit. That is a frequent thing. It has a
I see that a lot with custom Defender builders. They're like, they get to the bed and they're like, I think we're done.
This is it. That's enough. Let's get some checker plating. Just rivet that in there, color a day. It does have 3D printed Defender door handles, which is interesting. It has the word Defender printed into the door handle. That is,
they're 3D printed
because they're a very low layer height, and you can very
the resolution
easily,
on these is
very easily tell that it's 3D printed. In that case, you know what? I would personally say it's probably worth the extra effort to go ahead and set a slightly smaller layer height, maybe get a smaller nozzle. And
I like the little Defender inside the gauge panel, a little digital Defender. Is that a decal? What is that?
I was just looking at that. I think this is a completely digital dash. So I think they have a screen that's in there, and I think that's a function of how they've retrofit the LS engine into there. They're using, there's all these amazing kits for doing that will allow you to put in, very easily put in an LS motor into like basically any platform you can think of. And there's lots of third-party companies that give you all of the gauging and all of the everything else, and it's just kind of plug and play. So imagine they're using one of those kits. It's also it's a standard, or I'm sorry, it's an automatic transmission, but it looks kind of like it's a 5-speed. So that's kind of cool. I like that.
I've seen those shifters. When are you going to put an LS in one of your Land Rovers?
That's a great question. Just as soon as somebody, I don't know.
As soon as you buy this one.
Yeah, I'm going to buy this one. This one looks great. It actually doesn't look bad.
So follow-up question.
Yeah.
Yes or no, would you drive this?
This is probably a no, just because I'm not a huge LS conversion fan. But this is a great car. And again, current bid, now 7 days left on the bidding, but only $15,000. So get in.
What
early.
Percentage of this vehicle would you say came from AutoZone?
I would say it's a pretty high percentage. There's some
a Fast and the Furious sort of section.
It definitely is full Tokyo Drift. This bad boy,
Tokyo Drift
for sure.
The seats, the pedal covers.
Yeah,
it's got that vibe to it.
It does. It has a Tokyo Drift vibe to it. So
it's been smoked in. We'll just say that.
That's without question. That is absolutely true. And hey, if you are in the Key West area, this is probably the perfect car for you. So
yeah.
And on that note, we've come to the natural end of the show. We're going to try for next week, try to get Liza and Jenna on to talk about their Hyperfest. They're still recovering from their Barbie Jeep racing injuries. So
hard to track those two down, but we'll do our best.
I believe Jenna lost a shoe in the event. So
I wondered why there were some came in the mail.
Yep, exactly. So have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right. See you on the trail.
The Underpowered Hour is produced by Liza Beres, Ike Goss, and me, Steve Beres. Pavel Svardov composed and performed our theme music. Consider supporting the show on Patreon, and if you already do, thank you. Your support makes the show possible. For even more, check out our Instagram or Facebook.